video focuses on emotional preparation prior to undergoing weight loss surgery. And this is a really complicated topic. As soon as you start getting into the emotional aspect, what you find is that every single patient has individual concerns and individual issues. So this tends to be a much more difficult thing for me to provide guidance to patients on in a kind of general or vague sense. When I meet with patients individually, then I can typically start to kind of work through some of these things and make sure that they're well emotionally prepared for surgery. But as kind of a general guideline, what you'll have to do is kind of figure out if something applies to you, where can you then go with that? And that's where a counselor or someone in your surgical program can really help you figure these things out. So I'm going to identify some strategies that I use when I'm working with patients to make sure they're emotionally prepared for surgery. And we'll see if you can use these strategies, but oftentimes it's going to require a little bit of help, either from family members or your support network, or from licensed therapists like psychologists or people or members of your bariatric program or in their support group. So the two components of good emotional preparation in my mind are, first, to be brutally honest with yourself about why you are making this decision, and make sure that you are likely to be satisfied once you end up having the surgery. And we'll kind of talk through that in more detail because it's a little bit of a vague concept, but we have to really drill down and figure out what is driving you to make this decision. There's something going on in your life, or several things going on in your life, that are pushing you to make this decision. What are they, and will they be adequately addressed by this surgery? Because if the answer is no, then you are setting yourself up for significant disappointment and dissatisfaction. And those are two things that I really work hard with my preoperative patients to prevent. I want to make sure that we set appropriate goals and appropriate expectations, and then that we meet or exceed them. So the second thing is to set goals, and these goals will have nothing to do with what the number is on the bathroom scale. They're goals that have to do with your lifestyle and your activities and your overall health. So first, let's discuss one of the most common reasons why people will choose to have the surgery, which is to help with their self-esteem. And that is completely and totally understandable, because the world judges you if you are overweight. They judge you as being less intelligent. They judge you as being less willing to work hard. And of course, they judge you as having less willpower. But hopefully at this point, you're starting to really question whether that's true, because I am convinced that people who suffer from obesity do not have less willpower on average than people who do not. So how does this surgery work in terms of improving your self-esteem? The truth is, it absolutely can help in this regard. But it helps in the way that you view yourself. What it doesn't help with, as much as most people think, is the way that others view you. You may no longer be subject to strangers who may judge you based on your appearance. But the truth is, living your life for strangers results in a very unpleasant and unfulfilling life. So while yes, you will get perhaps less of that stigma and that judgment that you perceive from strangers, which oftentimes is not nearly as severe as you think it is, to do this surgery, to rearrange your intestines, to go through this so that strangers think of you differently, does not make any sense at all. When it comes to our loved ones, those who support us, those who are close with us, what I found is that this surgery really doesn't impact how they view you or how they treat you very much. And that oftentimes is an unmet expectation. If you believe that this is going to cause your husband to treat you with more kindness and love, it probably won't. It will allow you to treat yourself with more kindness and love. That takes some time. That's not something that happens the morning after you wake up with surgery. But over time, as you adjust to your new weight and your new lifestyle, that is absolutely something I see as being a very common result of this surgery. And when you treat yourself with more love and kindness, others tend to treat you the same way. But we can only impact what we do and how we act and how we think about ourselves. We cannot change how other people view us. And that will include strangers, and that will include more importantly, those close to us. So what about improving your health? Again, this really has to be individualized. There are many patients who I see in the office who I recognize this is going to improve their health tremendously. If you have diabetes, that's a terrible disease, and this surgery will dramatically improve it, and that is amazing. So yes, if your goal is to improve your diabetes, if you are on 3 blood pressure medicines and don't want to be taking 3 blood pressure medicines, if you take 12 pills every day and are sick and tired of it, these surgeries will work. They will improve your health remarkably. But we have to be careful with that because there really is this scenario where you can be overweight to the point of qualifying for weight loss surgery, but still really healthy. And I see patients all the time who have BMIs in the low 40s who may be on a touch of blood pressure medicine or a touch of cholesterol medicine, things that we could easily kind of get you off with just some minor tweaks to your diet and some regular exercise, all things you would have to do after surgery. And so there's just not that many health problems. And what we find is when we get you to lose weight, yeah, we may get you off those medications, but we really haven't made this huge gain in improving your overall health, like we do in someone who's taking 12 pills a day and has diabetes. So if you're using your health as an example or a reason why you want to have this surgery done, make sure that you really do have a lot of these health problems that will improve after surgery. And kind of another corollary to that is that there are some people who have some issues, say with rheumatoid arthritis or lupus, which is these inflammatory diseases or these autoimmune diseases. These will not at all be impacted by these weight loss surgeries. And also people who look and say, well, my joint function is going to improve, and if I have this weight loss surgery, I probably won't need a hip or joint or knee replacement, will most likely be let down. These problems do not go away after weight loss surgery. The weight loss surgery does not cause you to grow more cartilage in your knees or hips. So you're still going to need that joint replacement surgery, that orthopedic surgery, but you'll be able to do it at lower risk and with a better long-term result. So when you're using your health as an example for why you want to have the surgery, have a clear picture. If it's to improve your mobility, recognize that there's going to be some orthopedic procedures as well that are going to be required for you to meet that goal. If your health really isn't that bad, then take a careful look. Maybe you're doing this for self-esteem issues, which again is fine, but let's be honest and let's really look at that so that we can focus on that in the preoperative period and then after surgery as well to make sure that that expectation is met. Also, another thing that I hear people talk about is that they don't want to die early. And this is often someone who doesn't have a lot of health problems, but comes from a family where people have a lot of health problems. First thing I do is I really dig deep and figure that out. If your mother developed diabetes at the age of 82, it's hard to say you have a very strong family history of diabetes. Diabetes is a disease that does progress and does develop as we age, but typically very slowly. And if it took you 82 years to get to diabetes, chances are you're going to live the majority of your life without significant diabetes. So to have this surgery to prevent yourself from getting diabetes in 40 years does not make a lot of sense. A big portion of people who kind of look at their health and think that their weight is really significantly impacting their overall health are overstating the problem, where they're not likely to die soon, and especially if you have a family history of longevity where most people in your family are living into their late 80s or 90s, then chances are you will too. Unless you really are in this scenario where you're on 12 pills and have diabetes and may have had a heart issue or something along those lines. So if your health is generally good and don't require a lot of medications and you have a family history of longevity, and your BMI is kind of in the low 40s range, not at 60 or 70, where we really start to see a lot of problems, then having the surgery to prevent yourself from dying isn't really a reasonable plan. Again, if that's what you're telling yourself, then you may want to reevaluate that and figure out, if this is necessary, or if you still want to proceed, what the actual reason is, so that we can focus on improving that actual reason. What I really talk to most patients about who are kind of in their 40s and are significantly overweight is not about reducing your risk of death, but about reducing your risk of immobility. So over time, eventually your weight will catch up with you in your joints and you'll develop severe arthritis and kind of wear off the cartilage to the point where a joint replacement is your only reasonable option. And by having surgery in your 40s, even if your health is okay, we're going to be able to preserve your mobility later in life. And this does make a ton of sense, and we can likely prevent someone from losing their mobility or needing a joint replacement surgery where they might need it, where they might actually be on kind of schedule without surgery to do it. So if you're if you're otherwise healthy, then look at your mobility as a bigger threat than dying early, especially if you have a family history of longevity. So it's really critically important to be brutally honest with yourself about what components of your life you want to improve after surgery. Will your marriage improve after surgery? This is a really difficult topic, and we could make a video just on this. What I have found is that bad marriages get worse. Good marriages get better. So if the reason why you want to have the surgery is because you're nearing retirement and your spouse is still very active and you've always talked about doing all of these things, hiking and camping and traveling, and you're seeing that you're not able to do that based on your weight and your threatened mobility, then having this surgery to get the weight down so that you can be more mobile, so that you can participate in all these activities that you've always dreamed about with your spouse makes a tremendous amount of sense. And it's very, very likely that this is going to improve your marriage because you can do all of these things you've wanted to do. You've worked hard your whole life, you've raised your family, and now you get to have your reward, and you're going to be able to enjoy it because you're not dragging 250 or 300 pounds up those steps in Peru. So this works great for improving a marriage. But if you're thinking that this surgery is going to make your spouse offer you more respect, it's probably not. Again, these surgeries don't have a significant impact on how those people who are the closest to you view you. They change the way you view yourself, but those people who are the closest to you won't be significantly impacted. So if your marriage isn't that good and there's not a lot of respect between the two of you, it's very likely that this may get worse. Know that and understand that. That may be okay. But at least recognize that this surgery is not going to fix that problem. The same thing goes with your relationship with your children and your work life. The reason that you may not be getting the opportunities that you think you deserve at work may have nothing to do with your weight, and you may be rationalizing or kind of excusing away some things that you could be doing better, saying, well, even if I did, they wouldn't really even do anything for me because I'm so judged because of my weight. Typically, that's not the case. There are certainly examples where it is, but that is the exception, not the rule. So if you think that this is somehow going to get you further along in your career, it probably won't. And then finally, your health. This gets back to this idea. Are you on 12 pills or 1? Because if you're on 12 pills, yes, it makes a lot of sense. If you're on 1, it doesn't make a lot of sense to use your health as the primary reason why you want to proceed with surgery. But be brutally honest about this so that you can ensure that whatever expectations you have are actually met by moving forward with the surgery. So now let's move on to goal setting, and we'll have some other videos later on as we get into the honeymoon and the end of the honeymoon years, and then finally the lifelong success years, where we do discuss goal setting again. But I'll just kind of introduce this idea. It cannot involve the scale. First, I find that most patients' expectations for the amount of weight loss after surgery are unrealistic. We have a really great database here in Michigan that we use to predict how much weight someone's going to lose after surgery. And when someone has an expectation that they're going to lose 40 or 50 more pounds than we're predicting for them, they're very unlikely to actually meet that goal. So you're setting yourself up for failure. To set yourself up to meet a goal that only 5 or 10% of people are in the same situation are able to do means that there's an overwhelming likelihood you won't meet that, and then we'll have unmet expectations, which is what we're trying to prevent. So instead, I really challenge you to focus on activities like riding a roller coaster, flying without the seatbelt extender, or feeling uncomfortable about how your neighbors on the plane are judging you. Things that you can't currently do or that are very hard for you to do, get on the floor with your children or your grandchildren and play. And making it a goal of yours to be able to do those things. And most of the time, that expectation, that goal will be met. Write it down if you need to. Write a letter to yourself about all the things you hope to achieve with this surgery. Make these goals concrete and track them and then achieve them. Your overall health. My goal is to get rid of my diabetes. Talk to your physician about that. It may take more than just having the surgery. It may take really great nutritional change. It may take some exercise, a walking program, or even a resistance training program. You may have to discuss the fact that, well, maybe that's unrealistic, but getting you off insulin is realistic, and instead relying on drugs like metformin and Victoza and other non-insulin based medications may be a realistic goal. But think about this concretely and set specific goals for yourself based on your health. And then finally, your physical fitness, and this is where there really is the most room. Can you run? How about a mile? Can you run a mile? Can you finish a 5K? Can you do a real push-up? There's so many things that you can look at in terms of your physical fitness. And these goals can never end. You can run, great. Now run a mile, great. Now run 5K, great. Now run 5K in under 50 minutes, great. Now run 5K in under 45 minutes. Continuing to use physical fitness to set first initial goals and then secondary goals after that, after you meet those first initial goals. That works fantastic because it keeps you moving forward. And it keeps you focused on the future, and it keeps you implementing all of these great lifestyle changes that are so critical to your success after surgery. So to summarize, you gotta be brutally honest with yourself if you're going to be appropriately emotionally prepared. Lying to yourself gets you nowhere. Figure out why you are making this decision to have surgery, and make sure that it makes sense and that you're likely to meet whatever your expectations are. Set your future self up for success. And finally, set goals, realistic goals that have nothing to do with the scale, that focus on things that you can and can't do, on your physical fitness, on your health. All of these things are a great opportunity for you to improve your life and make sure that this surgery offers everything that you hope that it can be.